Our story, the story of Goa, is a beautiful mix of flavors, cultures, and histories. For centuries, the destinies of Goa, Daman, and Diu were intertwined with Portugal. This wasn't just a brief chapter, it was a long and deep connection that lasted for over 450 years. This long period of shared history left a permanent mark on our food, our music, our architecture, and even our family names. You can see it in the whitewashed churches that stand next to colorful temples, and you can taste it in a vindaloo, a dish that has its roots in a Portuguese marinade. This history is not just something in books, it is alive in our daily lives, a constant reminder of a past that connects two very different parts of the world. This long era came to a close in 1961. That year, India took administrative control of Goa, Daman, and Diu, making them a part of the Indian Union. This was a very significant moment, a turning point that changed the political identity of the region forever. For the people living there, it meant a new government and a new future as Indian citizens. However, Portugal did not immediately recognize this change. For more than a decade, there was a period of political uncertainty. It was a time of transition, where the old ways were meeting the new, and people were navigating a complex shift in their national identity, a process that would have lasting effects for generations to come. The official chapter on this political disagreement closed in 1974. Following a major political change in Portugal, the new government officially recognized India's sovereignty over its former territories. This was a crucial diplomatic step. It paved the way for a new relationship between the two countries, one based on mutual respect and a shared heritage. More importantly, for the people of Goa, Daman, and Diu, this recognition came with a special provision. Portugal decided to honor the past by allowing those born in these territories before 1961 to keep their connection to Portugal, a connection that could be passed down through their families as a birthright. This historical agreement is the very foundation of the opportunity we are discussing today. It is a bridge that connects the past to the present. It acknowledges that even though the political maps have changed, the bonds of history and family remain strong. This unique legal pathway is a direct result of that moment in 1974, when Portugal chose to honor its historical ties. It is not a typical immigration program. It is an act of recognizing a shared history. For many Goans, it is a chance to reclaim a part of their heritage and open a door to a future filled with new possibilities, all thanks to this special moment in our shared timeline. To understand this opportunity, we need to look at Portuguese law. Before 1981, Portugal's nationality law was very generous. It was based on the principle of jus soli, a Latin term that simply means right of the soil. This means that if you were born in a Portuguese territory, you were considered a Portuguese citizen, regardless of your parents' nationality. Since Goa, Daman, and Diu were considered Portuguese territories until 1961, anyone born there during that time was, by law, born a Portuguese citizen. This is the key that unlocks the door for so many people. It's a simple but powerful rule from the past that still has meaning today. When Portugal changed its nationality law in 1981, it did not take away the rights of those who were already considered citizens. The new law was different, but it respected the rights granted under the old law. This is a very important point. The change in law did not erase the past. So, if you were born in Goa, Daman, or Diu before the end of 1961, Portugal still sees you as someone who was born in its territory. Your birthright was established under the old law and remains valid. This is why you are not applying for citizenship in the way a foreigner would. You are simply registering a birth that already made you a citizen. This legal framework is what makes the Goan case so special. It's not about immigration, it's about registration. Think of it like finding a birth certificate you never knew you had. The right to citizenship already exists for those born before the 1961 cutoff date. The process is about getting the Portuguese government to officially recognize and document that right. This is a fundamental difference. You are not asking for something new, you are asking for official papers to prove something that is already legally true. It is a claim based on history and a specific set of laws that were in place at the time of your birth. The beautiful thing is that this connection doesn't have to end with that first generation. Portuguese law recognizes that citizenship is a family affair. It can be passed down from one generation to the next, much like a family recipe or a treasured heirloom. If your parent was born in Goa before 1961, their right to Portuguese citizenship can be passed on to you. And if you secure your citizenship, you may be able to pass it on to your own children. This creates a chain of heritage, linking your family's future in Europe to its deep roots in the soil of Goa, Daman, and Diu. Let's make this very simple. The primary group of people eligible for Portuguese citizenship are those who were born in Goa, Daman, or Diu before the end of 1961. This is the cornerstone of the entire process. The specific date is important. Your birth must have occurred on or before December 19, 1961. If you meet this single condition, you are considered a Portuguese citizen by birth according to the laws that were in effect at that time. It does not matter where you live now or what other citizenship you hold. Your birthplace and birth date are the only two factors that matter for this initial eligibility. This is what we call the first-generation applicant. You are the direct link to the historical Portuguese territory. The process for you is the most straightforward because your claim is not dependent on anyone else's status. You are the source of the citizenship claim for your family line. Your task is to prove to the Portuguese authorities that you were indeed born in the right place at the right time. This is done by providing official documents from that period, which serve as evidence of your birth. Your application is essentially a request to have your birth registered in Portugal's central record system. It is important to understand that your current Indian citizenship does not create a problem. Portugal allows for dual nationality. This means you can become a Portuguese citizen without having to give up your Indian passport. You can enjoy the rights and benefits of being a citizen of both countries. This is a wonderful advantage, allowing you to maintain your deep ties to India while opening up new horizons in Europe. You can travel freely between both worlds, carrying the heritage of one and the opportunities of the other. It's truly the best of both worlds, a privilege rooted in our unique history. So, if you are someone who was born in Goa, Daman, or Diu before the end of 1961, you hold the key. Even if you have never thought about it before, this right exists for you. You do not need to speak Portuguese or have ever visited Portugal. The law is based on your place of birth, a fact that is written in history. By taking the step to register your birth, you are not only claiming your own birthright, but also potentially creating a legacy of opportunity for your children and grandchildren. It all starts with you, the first generation, and your connection to the past. The gift of heritage can be passed down. If your father or mother was born in Goa, Daman, or Diu before the end of 1961, you may also be eligible for Portuguese citizenship. This is known as citizenship by descent. Your claim is based on your parents' citizenship. However, there is a very important sequence to follow. Your eligible parent must first successfully register their own birth and obtain their Portuguese citizenship before you can apply. You cannot apply at the same time or before them. Their citizenship must be officially established first, as your eligibility flows directly from theirs. Once your parent is officially a registered Portuguese citizen, you, as their child, can then begin your own application. For your application, you will need to prove your relationship to them. This is usually done with your own birth certificate, which lists your parents' name. It is also very helpful to have your parents' marriage certificate, especially if the marriage took place before you were born. The process for you is also one of registration. You are asking Portugal to recognize you as the child of a Portuguese citizen, which, under their law, gives you the right to citizenship as well. The chain can even extend one generation further to the grandchildren. If your grandparent was born in Goa before the 1961 deadline, you might be eligible. However, the path for grandchildren is slightly more complex. First, the middle generation. Your parent, who is the child of the eligible grandparent, must secure their citizenship. So, your grandparent must be registered first, followed by your parent. Only after your parent is a confirmed Portuguese citizen can you, the grandchild, apply. This step-by-step process is non-negotiable and is the most common reason for delays or rejections, so it must be followed carefully. For grandchildren, there is often an additional requirement. Besides proving the lineage through birth and marriage certificates, you may need to demonstrate some connection to the Portuguese community. This doesn't necessarily mean living in Portugal, but it could involve things like learning the Portuguese language or being involved in a local Portuguese cultural organization. The requirements can vary, so it is important to check the latest rules when you apply. The key takeaway is this: the path exists for children and grandchildren, but it requires patience and a methodical step-by-step approach, starting with the oldest eligible generation. So, the heart of this entire process is an office in Portugal's capital city. It's called the Conservatoria dos Registros Centrais in Portuguese, which, translates to the Central Registry of Lisbon. This is basically the official keeper of all vital records for Portuguese citizens, including those living abroad or, like Goans, those registering their citizenship based on historical ties. Every single application, whether it's from a first-generation person or their descendants, has to ultimately be processed and approved by this one central office. It's actually the only authority that can officially add your name to the Portuguese national records. Think of the Central Registry as the master library of Portuguese identity. Your goal is to have your life's key events, your birth and possibly your marriage, recorded in this library. When you submit your documents, you're essentially sending a request to the librarians in Lisbon to create a new entry for you. For someone born before 1961, this means registering your birth. For a child of that person, it means registering your birth to show you were born to a Portuguese parent. And for every step, the Central Registry must create an official record, which is called an assento. Now, you don't have to travel to Lisbon yourself to submit your application, though that's definitely an option. Most people actually apply through a Portuguese consulate. In India, there's the Consulate General of Portugal in Goa, which handles a really large number of these applications. You can also apply through the Portuguese Embassy in New Delhi. These consulates act as official channels. They'll check your documents to make sure everything is in order before sending them off to the Central Registry in Lisbon for the final decision and processing. Using the consulate is honestly a reliable way to ensure your application is submitted correctly. The registration process isn't just a formality, it's the most critical step. Until your birth is registered in Lisbon and you've been issued a Portuguese birth certificate, an assento de nascimento, you're not officially a citizen in the eyes of the Portuguese government. You can't apply for a Portuguese passport or a citizen card, a cartão de cidadão, without this foundational document. Everything starts with the registration at the Central Registry. It's the official act that transforms your historical right into a modern, legal reality, giving you the document you need to prove your new status. Section 6, the paper trail, your document checklist. Being organized is key to a successful application. You will need to gather a collection of official documents to prove your identity and your eligibility. For the first-generation applicant, the person born in Goa, Daman, or Diu on or before December 19, 1961, the list is quite specific. You will need your original birth certificate, often called a TOR certificate, from the time of your birth. If possible, a baptism certificate from the same period can also be very helpful as supporting evidence. You will also need a modern Indian passport as proof of your current identity and address. In addition to these, you'll need a residence certificate that clearly states you have been living in Goa. The Portuguese authorities also require the birth certificates of your parents, even if they were not Portuguese, to establish your family background. A marriage certificate is also needed if you are married. One of the most important documents is the original Portuguese passport, or bilhete de identidade, which is the identity card, if your parents or grandparents had one. This old document is powerful proof of your family's connection to Portugal and can make the process much smoother and faster for the authorities in Lisbon. For the next generation, the children of the primary applicant, the document list builds upon the first. You will need your own full birth certificate, which clearly lists the name of your eligible parent. You will also need your parents' newly issued Portuguese birth certificate, known as the Assento de Nascimento, from the Central Registry in Lisbon. This is the proof that your parent is now a citizen. You must also provide your own Indian passport and your marriage certificate if you are married. The goal here is simple: to create a clear, documented paper trail that connects you directly to your newly registered Portuguese parent. For grandchildren, the paper trail gets one layer deeper. You will need all the documents mentioned for children, but you must also provide the Portuguese birth certificate of your parent, which is the middle generation, and the Portuguese birth certificate of your grandparent, who is the first generation applicant. You must also provide the marriage certificates for both your parents and your grandparents to prove the unbroken line of descent. As mentioned, you might also need to supply extra documents showing your connection to the Portuguese community. Keeping certified copies of everything is a good practice as you navigate this multi-step family project. Section 7. How and where to apply. Your practical steps. Once you have gathered all your meticulously organized documents, you have a few options for where to submit them. The most common and accessible path for people in India is to apply through the Consulate General of Portugal in Panjim, Goa. This office is very experienced with these specific types of citizenship cases and can provide guidance. You can also apply at the Portuguese Embassy in New Delhi. It is highly recommended to book an appointment in advance, as these offices are often very busy. The consulate staff will review your paperwork, verify your identity, and officially forward your application to the Central Registry in Lisbon. Another option is to apply directly in Portugal. If you are able to travel, you can submit your application in person at any civil registry office called Conservatoria do Registro Civil in Portugal. Some people feel this can be faster, but it requires you to be physically present in the country. A more popular choice for those who want to use the in-country route without traveling is to hire a qualified lawyer based in Portugal. An experienced Portuguese lawyer can submit the application on your behalf, follow up with the Central Registry directly, and handle any questions or requests for more information that may arise during the process. The application process itself is straightforward but requires great attention to detail. You will need to fill out a specific form known as Requerimento 1C. This form must be completed in Portuguese. All your supporting documents, such as your Indian birth and marriage certificates, will likely need to be apostilled. An apostille is a special kind of certification that makes a document from one country legally valid in another. You should also be prepared for some documents to require official translation into Portuguese by a certified translator. Following these procedural rules exactly is crucial to avoid delays. When you submit your application, whether at a consulate or through a lawyer, you will pay an official government fee. After submission, your file is given a number, and it enters the queue at the Central Registry in Lisbon. It is important to keep a record of this number and all your submission receipts. The role of the consulate or your lawyer is to be the bridge between you and the decision-makers in Lisbon. They handle the formal submission and communication, but the final processing and approval can only happen at the Central Registry. Your job is to provide them with a perfect, complete file to make their job as easy as possible. Section 8. The waiting game, timelines and costs. Patience is a virtue, especially when dealing with bureaucracy. The timeline for processing a Portuguese citizenship application can vary significantly. There is no fixed or guaranteed time frame. For a straightforward first-generation application, where all the documents are clear and in order, the process might take anywhere from 1 to 2 years. However, this is just an estimate. The waiting period depends heavily on the workload at the Central Registry in Lisbon. At times, they receive a very high volume of applications from all over the world, which can lead to backlogs and longer waiting times for everyone. The process for children and grandchildren often takes longer. This is because the registry officials have to verify each link in the family chain. They must first confirm the citizenship of the grandparent, then the parent, and finally the grandchild. Each step is a separate process that must be completed in sequence. Therefore, for a grandchild to get citizenship, the total time from the start of the grandparent's application could easily be 4 to 6 years, or sometimes even longer. It is a marathon, not a sprint. Managing your expectations about the timeline from the very beginning is important for a stress-free journey. Beyond time, there is also a financial cost involved. You will have to pay a government application fee for each person applying. This fee is set by the Portuguese government and is paid at the time of submission. As of today, this fee is a few €100 per applicant, but it can change, so you must check the current amount with the consulate. Additionally, you need to budget for other expenses. These include the cost of getting official copies of documents, the fees for apostille certification on each document, and the cost of having documents translated into Portuguese by a certified translator. If you choose to hire a lawyer in Portugal to handle your case, that will be an additional professional fee. While this increases the total cost, many people find it to be a worthwhile investment. A good lawyer can help ensure your application is flawless, can communicate directly with the registry in Portuguese, and can often help resolve minor issues quickly, potentially saving you time and preventing a rejection. When you add up all the fees, government, apostille, translation, and legal, the total cost can be significant, especially for a family applying for multiple generations, so it's wise to plan your budget accordingly. Section 9. A world of opportunity, the benefits of a Portuguese passport. Achieving Portuguese nationality is more than just a nod to your family's history. It is a key that unlocks a future filled with incredible opportunities. The most significant benefit is that you become a citizen of the European Union. This is a life-changing advantage. With a Portuguese passport, you gain the freedom to live, work, study, and travel not just in Portugal, but in any of the 27 EU member countries. You can move to Germany for a job, study in Sweden, or retire in Spain, all with minimal paperwork and the same rights as a local citizen. This freedom of movement is perhaps the greatest prize. The educational and career prospects are immense. As an EU citizen, you have access to world-class universities across Europe, often paying the same lower tuition fees as local students instead of the much higher fees charged to international students. This can save your family a fortune and give your children access to an incredible education. In the professional world, you can apply for jobs across the entire continent without needing a work visa or sponsorship. This opens up a vast and diverse job market, giving you the flexibility to pursue your career wherever the best opportunities may be. Family is at the heart of our culture, and Portuguese citizenship honors that. It provides strong rights for family reunification. Once you are a citizen, it becomes much easier to bring your close family members, such as your spouse or dependent children, to live with you in Portugal or another EU country. Furthermore, the citizenship you secure can be passed down to your future children, ensuring that this legacy of opportunity and global access continues for generations to come. It's a gift that keeps on giving, securing a brighter future for your entire family line. Finally, holding a Portuguese passport gives you a powerful sense of security and global mobility. The Portuguese passport is one of the strongest in the world, allowing for visa-free or visa-on-arrival travel to a huge number of countries. This makes international travel for business or pleasure incredibly simple. It gives you a safe haven in a stable and peaceful part of the world, and a connection to a rich culture that is part of your own Goan heritage. It is the ultimate blend of honoring your past while building a limitless future for yourself and your loved ones.